The Silent Watchers. Commander Diana Chen stood at the heart of Quantum Observatory Station 7, her eyes fixed on the massive holographic display that dominated the chamber center. To the rest of the world, this facility, buried deep beneath the Atacama Desert, was just another radio telescope array. In reality, it was part of humanity's most sophisticated early warning system. The quantum entanglement sensors that surrounded her could detect ripples in space-time from vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel anywhere within 50 light-years of Earth. More importantly, they could do so without revealing their own presence. Humanity had learned long ago that the galaxy was not empty, and that it was far better to watch than to be watched. "Contact," announced Lieutenant Wizong, his voice carrying the weight of years of training. Multiple signatures detected at the edge of the Kuiper belt. Pattern matches known hegemony configurations. Diana's pulse quickened, but her voice remained steady. "Show me." The holographic display shifted, zooming out to display the solar system's outer reaches. Red dots appeared, each representing a vessel transitioning back to normal space. First dozens, then hundreds, and finally thousands of ships materialized in a classic invasion formation. "Send the alert," Diana ordered. "Authorization Chen 7 Delta 9. Wake the sleeping giant." Across Earth and throughout the solar system, carefully hidden facilities began to stir. For over a century, humanity had maintained the illusion of being a primitive planet-bound species. They'd broadcast their entertainment into space, letting any watching eyes see their supposed dreams of reaching the stars. Meanwhile, they built their real capabilities in secret, protected by technology that made them invisible to standard scanning methods. The hegemony ships moved with the confidence of predators who had done this 1,000 times before. Their sensors swept the system, detecting exactly what Earth wanted them to see. A few primitive satellites, some basic space stations, and rudimentary colonies on Mars and the Moon. What they couldn't detect were the quantum-shifted shipyards inside Mercury's core, the antimatter production facilities hidden in Jupiter's storms, or the millions of automated defense platforms disguised as ordinary space debris. "They're broadcasting," Wei reported. "Standard hegemony first contact protocol. Demands for submission and resource rights. Threats of annihilation if we resist. They're giving us 6 hours to surrender." Diana allowed herself a small smile. "Send them our response. The one we prepared centuries ago." On screens across the alien fleet, a simple message appeared in their own language. "We decline." The hegemony ships began to move into attack formation, no doubt preparing to make an example of yet another primitive world that dared to resist. They never saw the quantum fields activating around their fleet, cutting off their faster-than-light escape routes. They never detected the defense platforms powering up, hidden in plain sight among the cosmic debris they had dismissed as irrelevant. "All systems are go," Wei announced. "The trap is set." Diana thought of all the generations that had worked in secret, preparing for this moment. How many wars had humanity avoided, channeling those resources instead into this grand deception? How many scientific breakthroughs had they kept hidden, letting their watchers believe they were still struggling with basic physics while they mastered quantum engineering and gravity manipulation? "Send the signal to all commands," she ordered. "Operation Sleeping Giant is now active. Let's show them why you should never judge a species by its entertainment broadcasts." As the hegemony fleet moved deeper into the solar system, humanity's greatest deception was about to be revealed. The hunter was about to become the hunted, and the galaxy would soon learn that appearing primitive was the most sophisticated strategy of all. Would you like me to continue with the subsequent parts? Breaking the Masquerade. Admiral Kai Peidel stood in the command center of Bastion Alpha, a massive military installation carved into the dark side of the moon. On his screens, the hegemony fleet continued their advance, their formation tightening as they approached Mars. They still hadn't realized they were being herded like cattle into a carefully prepared killing zone. "Status report on the Mars defense grid," he commanded, watching as his officers coordinated Earth's hidden forces through quantum-encrypted channels. "All quantum mirrors are in position, sir," reported Captain Sarah Martinez, her hands dancing across the holographic controls. "The hegemony sensors are still being fed our false electromagnetic signature. As far as they can tell, Mars is defended by nothing more than a handful of primitive research stations." Kai nodded, satisfaction evident in his expression. The quantum mirrors were perhaps humanity's greatest achievement in deception technology. They could make vast military installations appear as nothing more than abandoned mining equipment, while sophisticated weapon platforms registered as space debris on enemy sensors. "They're launching their first wave of scout ships," Sarah announced. "Standard hegemony protocol, looking for easy targets to demonstrate their superiority." "Let them come," Kai replied. "Activate Protocol Chimera. Show them what humanity's abandoned outposts can really do." Across the Martian surface, what appeared to be derelict research stations began to transform. Dormant defense systems awakened, their quantum camouflage dissolving to reveal rows of plasma cannons and gravitic disruptors. The scout ships, committed to their attack run, had no time to react. The first wave of hegemony vessels disappeared in a series of precisely targeted gravitic implosions. Their shields, designed to defend against conventional weapons, proved useless against technology that manipulated the fabric of space itself. The few survivors attempted to retreat, broadcasting warnings to the main fleet, but found their transmission capabilities blocked by quantum interference fields. "Scout force has been neutralized," Sarah reported. "No survivors. Main fleet is responding." Exactly as predicted. The hegemony commanders, enraged by the loss of their scouts, were ordering their capital ships forward. Their sensors, still fooled by the quantum mirrors, showed them only a primitive civilization that had gotten in a lucky shot. They had no way of knowing they were advancing into the most sophisticated defensive network ever created. "Send word to Admiral Chen in the Kuiper Belt Defense Line," Kai ordered. "Tell her the fish have taken the bait. Execute Phase 2. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden forces prepared to spring their trap. The hegemony fleet, numbering in the thousands, was about to learn why Earth had spent centuries appearing weak while secretly building its strength. "Sir," Sarah called out, a note of anticipation in her voice, "we're detecting power spikes from the hegemony fleet. They're charging their main weapons." "Perfect," Kai smiled. "They're still following the standard invasion playbook. Signal all commands. Operation Avalanche is now active. Let's remind these conquerors why they should have looked more closely at the primitive species they thought would be an easy conquest." As the hegemony fleet moved into firing position, the solar system itself seemed to come alive around them. Asteroids revealed themselves to be camouflaged battle stations. Clouds of space debris transformed into swarms of autonomous combat drones. Every piece of junk they had dismissed as irrelevant became a weapon in humanity's arsenal. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity's greatest deception was about to become the hegemony's worst nightmare. First contact, first blood. Captain Maya Rodriguez watched from her stealth corvette as the hegemony fleet pushed deeper into the solar system. Her ship, the Shadow Dancer, was officially listed in Earth's records as a failed prototype, abandoned years ago due to critical design flaws. In reality, it was one of humanity's most advanced vessels, incorporating technology that the hegemony couldn't even theorize existed. Multiple capital ships entering optimal range, her tactical officer, Lieutenant James Chen, reported. Their shield configurations remain unchanged. They still think they're fighting a primitive species. Maya allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The hegemony's arrogance had always been their greatest weakness. They'd conquered so many developing civilizations that they'd forgotten the most fundamental rule of warfare: never underestimate your opponent. "Signal the drone swarms," she ordered. "Begin Phase 3 of Operation Avalanche." Across the void, clouds of what the hegemony had dismissed as space debris suddenly came to life. Thousands of quantum-shifted combat drones, each no larger than a human hand, activated their drives. They had been waiting, dormant and invisible, as the alien fleet passed through their midst. "Swarms are engaging," James announced. "The hegemony's point defense systems are responding ineffectively." On her tactical display, Maya watched as the drone swarms penetrated the aliens' defensive screens with ease. Their shields, calibrated to stop large-scale attacks, were useless against thousands of tiny infiltrators. The drones attached themselves to hull plates, their quantum drills boring through supposedly impenetrable armor. "First wave of drones has achieved penetration," James reported, beginning internal systems disruption. The hegemony ships began to lose power as the drones interfered with their quantum matrices. Weapons went dark. Shields flickered and died. Communication systems broadcast nothing but static. The mighty warships, each capable of destroying a planet, were being systematically crippled by devices they couldn't even detect properly. "The hegemony flagship is launching fighters," James called out. "They're trying to maintain control of their formation." Maya nodded. "Execute Protocol Hydra. Show them what else humanity has been hiding." Throughout the battle zone, more stealth corvettes like Maya's dropped their quantum camouflage. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, incorporating centuries of hidden technological development. Their hulls, composed of metamaterials that absorbed or redirected energy, were practically invisible to conventional sensors. "All corvettes reporting ready," James confirmed. "Quantum weapon systems are hot." Maya took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had spent generations preparing for. Target their command and control nodes. Fire. The space between Mars and Jupiter lit up as humanity's stealth fleet unleashed its full power. Beams of concentrated quantum energy, invisible until the moment of impact, struck the hegemony vessels with surgical precision. The aliens' supposedly superior technology offered no defense against weapons that operated on principles they had never encountered. "Multiple confirmed kills," James reported, his voice steady despite the excitement of the moment. "The hegemony fleet is attempting to regroup, but their formation is breaking down." Maya watched as the mighty invasion force began to fragment. Ships that had conquered countless worlds were now being systematically dismantled by an opponent they had grossly underestimated. The hegemony's rigid command structure, so effective against less advanced species, was proving to be a fatal weakness against humanity's more flexible approach. "Send word to Admiral Patel," she ordered. "Phase 3 is complete. The hegemony fleet is compromised. Request permission to begin Phase 4. As she waited for the response, Maya reflected on the centuries of preparation that had led to this moment. How many resources had humanity poured into this deception? How many brilliant minds had worked in secret, developing technologies that would only be revealed in humanity's darkest hour? The response came back almost immediately. "Permission granted. Show them what humanity can really do." The web we wove. General Sofia Novak stood in the control center of Jupiter Station Echo, watching as the remnants of the hegemony fleet attempted to regroup. The massive facility, hidden within Jupiter's perpetual storms, housed humanity's most advanced quantum computation systems. Here they had spent decades analyzing alien tactics, developing countermeasures, and planning for this very moment. "Intercepted transmission from the hegemony command ship," announced Dr. Aidan Foster, head of Sinolinguistics. His quantum neural interface pulsed as it processed the alien communications in real time. They're starting to understand what they've walked into." Sophia moved to his station, watching as the translated text scrolled across his display. The hegemony commander's message to their high command was filled with growing panic. This was a trap. The humans, they knew we were coming. Everything we thought we knew about them was wrong. Their primitive technology, their divided planet, their crude attempts at space travel, it was all carefully crafted deception. "They're finally figuring it out," Sophia noted with grim satisfaction. "Show me their tactical analysis." The main holographic display shifted, showing the hegemony's desperate attempts to understand what they were facing. Their sensors, finally calibrated to detect some of humanity's quantum technology, were revealing the true extent of Earth's defenses. Hidden installations throughout the solar system were becoming visible to their scans, each one more advanced than anything the hegemony had encountered in their centuries of conquest. Their analysts are trying to understand how we hid all this, Aiden reported. They can't comprehend how we maintained the deception for so long. Launch Phase 5, Sophia ordered. Let's show them what else we've been hiding. Throughout the solar system, humanity's final layer of defenses revealed themselves. The surface of Mercury rippled as vast energy collectors emerged from quantum storage. Venus's toxic atmosphere parted, revealing constellation of orbital platforms that had been hidden beneath its clouds. Even the moon's far side transformed as hidden shipyards activated their drives, bringing themselves into attack position. "General," called out Lieutenant Sarah Chen from her tactical station, "the hegemony fleet is attempting to transmit a faster-than-light message to their home systems." Sophia smiled. "Initiate the quantum interference field." The hegemony's transmission died before it could leave the solar system. The quantum barrier humanity had constructed around their territory, disguised as natural background radiation, cut off all faster-than-light communication. The invaders were trapped, unable to warn their empire about the terrible mistake they had made. "New transmission from the hegemony command ship," Aiden announced. They're requesting terms of surrender." "Negative," Sophia replied firmly. "They came here to conquer. Show them the price of that decision. All units, execute final attack pattern. Authorization Novik Omega-1." Across the solar system, humanity's full military might converged on the trapped hegemony fleet. Ships that had been hiding in dimensional pockets emerged into normal space. Weapon platforms that had masqueraded as asteroids revealed their true nature. Every piece of humanity's carefully crafted deception transformed into an instrument of the invaders' destruction. "Message from Earth Command," Sarah reported. "Admiral Patel says, the trap is sprung. Finish it." As Sophia watched the final battle unfold, she thought about all the sacrifices that had led to this moment. How many resources had been diverted in secret? How many brilliant minds had worked in the shadows, knowing their greatest achievements would never be acknowledged until this day? The hegemony fleet, which had arrived expecting an easy conquest of a primitive world, found themselves facing the most sophisticated military force they had ever encountered. Their supposedly superior technology, developed through centuries of conquering lesser species, meant nothing against weapons and defenses that had been specifically designed to counter them. "They're breaking formation," Sarah announced. "Multiple ships attempting emergency faster-than-light jumps." "Let them try," Sophia replied. "The quantum barrier will hold." The invaders were about to learn the final lesson of their failed conquest. Sometimes, appearing weak was the strongest strategy of all. Victory in the void. Fleet Admiral Helena Zhou stood on the bridge of the Terra Ascended, humanity's first true dreadnought. For centuries, it had remained hidden in a quantum pocket beneath Europa's ice, waiting for this moment. Now, as the massive vessel emerged into normal space, its presence sent shockwaves through what remained of the hegemony fleet. "Final enemy count," reported Captain Marcus Sullivan from Tactical. 87 capital ships remaining from their original force of over 3,000. They've lost all formation coherence, and their command structure has completely broken down. Helena watched the tactical display as the surviving hegemony vessels scattered, their attempts at faster-than-light escape futile against the quantum barrier surrounding the solar system. "Open a channel to their remaining ships. All frequencies, their language." The communications officer nodded, and Helena spoke, her words translated in real time. "Attention hegemony forces. You entered our space believing us weak. You thought our divided planet, our seemingly primitive technology, and our limited space presence marked us as easy prey. That was your first and final mistake." On her display, she could see the hegemony ships freezing in space, their crews likely stunned by the sight of the Terra Ascended. The vessel's quantum-forged hull gleamed with an impossible perfection, its very existence defying their understanding of physics. For centuries, we watched you conquer other worlds, Helena continued. We studied your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. Every piece of primitive technology you detected was carefully crafted to deceive. Every sign of division on our planet was orchestrated to mislead. We turned our entire solar system into a weapon, waiting for the day you would come to conquer us. The tactical display showed the remaining hegemony ships clustering together, a final defensive formation born of desperation. Their sensors must be showing them the true extent of their situation now. Surrounded by weapons and technology they couldn't comprehend, trapped in a solar system that had become one vast killing ground. Your empire spans 1,000 worlds, Helena declared, but it has never faced a species that spent generations preparing specifically for you. You believe your technology made you invincible. We proved that preparation and deception are the greatest weapons of all. She paused, letting the silence stretch. Then, you have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. After that, we will demonstrate why challenging humanity was the last mistake your empire will ever make. The response came within minutes. The hegemony fleet, or what remained of it, powered down their weapons. Their shields dropped. The mighty armada that had arrived expecting an easy conquest now floated helpless in space, at the mercy of the primitive species they had so gravely underestimated. Signal from Earth Command, Marcus announced. Admiral Patel sends congratulations. Operation Sleeping Giant is complete. Humanity's existence as a stellar power can no longer be hidden. Helena nodded, thinking of all the generations that had worked in secret for this moment. Send word to all commands. Begin Phase Omega. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden infrastructure began to emerge. Shipyards appeared from dimensional pockets. Defense platforms shed their quantum camouflage. The carefully maintained illusion of a primitive planet-bound species dissolved, revealing one of the most advanced civilizations in known space. The quantum barrier is detecting multiple FTL signatures at the system's edge, Marcus reported. Other hegemony fleets responding to the invasion forces' distress calls. Perfect, Helena smiled. Let them come. Every ship they send will learn the same lesson. Earth is not, and never was, an easy target. We are humanity, and we've been waiting for them. As she watched more hegemony ships appear at the edge of the solar system, Helena knew that the galaxy was about to change forever. The empire that had terrorized countless species was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous opponent was the one who spent generations preparing in silence. The age of deception was over. The era of humanity's true power was about to begin. Even in humanity's darkest hour, Captain Sarah Chen couldn't help but smile at the absurdity of her plan. Standing before the United Earth Defense Council, she gestured at the hologram floating above the conference table, a spacecraft design that looked more like a child's crayon drawing than a military vessel. Distinguished members of the council, I know what you're seeing appears unconventional. She began, her dark eyes scanning the room of skeptical faces. But this might be our only chance against the Nexari. Admiral Harrison, his face weathered by 3 years of devastating losses against the alien empire, leaned forward. Captain Chen, we've lost 60% of our fleet. Earth's orbital defenses are failing, and you're proposing we spend our remaining resources building this. The hologram rotated slowly, revealing a ship that defied every principle of aerospace engineering. Its hull was asymmetrical, with sections that seemed to jut out at random angles. Weapon systems were placed in positions that made no tactical sense. The entire thing looked like it had been assembled from spare parts found in a cosmic junkyard. 3 months ago, while analyzing debris from the Battle of Proxima, Chen continued, my team discovered something remarkable. The Nexari targeting systems consistently performed better against our most advanced ships than our older, more irregular vessels. She manipulated the hologram, bringing up combat data. Their neural networks are too perfect, too logical. They struggle to track objects that don't follow expected design patterns. Dr. Patel, the council's chief physicist, adjusted his glasses. Are you suggesting we intentionally build an inefficient warship? I'm suggesting we build a ship that breaks every rule the Nexari understand about space combat. Their entire civilization is built on mathematical perfection. They literally cannot comprehend imperfection. It's hardwired into their biology. The room erupted in murmurs. Chen pressed on, pulling up footage from a classified experiment. We tested this theory at the Armstrong Deep Space Research Station. Using salvaged Nexari sensor technology, we created a series of simulations. The footage showed various ship designs being tracked by alien targeting systems. Modern human military vessels were acquired and locked instantly. But when confronted with irregular shapes and seemingly random movement patterns, the targeting systems began to glitch. The more wrong the design, the worse their systems performed, Chen explained. It's like trying to solve an equation where none of the numbers make sense. Admiral Harrison rubbed his temples. Even if this works, and that's a massive if, how do we build something like this? Our shipyards are designed for standardized construction. Chen's smile widened. That's the beauty of it, sir. We don't need shipyards. We need junk. Specifically, we need the Sierra Nevada Space Salvage Yard. The largest spacecraft graveyard on Earth, Sierra Nevada was where decommissioned ships went to die. Hundreds of vessels, from ancient chemical rockets to modern fusion-driven cruisers, lay scattered across 50 square kilometers of desert. My team has already identified the components we need. We'll use the structural frame of an old Russian cargo hauler, weapon systems from 3 different military vessels, and engine cores that were considered too unstable for normal use. The whole thing will be held together by experimental quantum field generators that technically shouldn't work at all. And you're volunteering to command this abomination? Harrison asked. With respect, Admiral, I'm insisting on it. Nobody else understands the theoretical framework we're operating under. This isn't just about building an irregular ship. It's about thinking in ways the Nexari can't predict. The crew will need to be trained to embrace chaos as a tactical advantage. Dr. Patil cleared his throat. There's something else, isn't there? Something you haven't told us yet. Chen hesitated, then nodded. During our research, we discovered references in ancient alien records to a civilization called the Discordants. They fought the Nexari to a standstill 5 million years ago, using similar principles of chaos engineering. The Nexari didn't defeat them. They simply couldn't comprehend their existence and retreated from that sector of space entirely. And what happened to these discordants? Someone asked. We don't know. They'd vanished from historical records. But they left behind artifacts, including a space station that defies all known laws of physics. We found it, studied it, and that's what led to this design. Admiral Harrison stood, his expression grave. The Nexari fleet will reach Earth in less than 2 months. How quickly can you build this thing? With emergency resources and round-the-clock construction. 4 weeks, maybe 5. We've already started gathering materials. The Admiral looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each council member. One by one, they nodded. Captain Chen, you have your authorization. But understand this, if you're wrong, you won't live long enough to apologize. None of us will. Thank you, sir. Chen gathered her data tablets. One last thing. We're calling it the HMS Pandora. Pandora. As in the myth. Yes, sir. She opened a box that released chaos into the world. Chen's expression hardened. It's time we showed the Nexari what chaos really means. As she left the council chamber, Chen's hand brushed against the small artifact in her pocket, a fragment of discordant technology that had started this whole journey. It hummed with impossible energy, a reminder that sometimes the best solutions were the ones that shouldn't work at all. In the weeks that followed, the Sierra Nevada Space Salvage Yard transformed into a hive of activity. Engineers and technicians worked around the clock, many of them initially refusing to believe the specifications they were given. The Pandora took shape piece by bizarre piece, each addition making it look more impossible. The ship's central computer was programmed with algorithms that intentionally introduced random variables into every calculation. Its shield generators operated on frequencies that changed according to patterns based on human brainwaves during dreams. The weapon systems were deliberately misaligned, creating firing patterns that no sane military strategist would ever approve. But as crazy as it all seemed, Chen knew they were on the right track. Every simulation they ran showed the same results. The more they embraced irregularity, the harder it became for Nexari systems to target them. 1 week before the scheduled launch, Chen stood in the Pandora's command center, running final checks on systems that shouldn't have worked together but somehow did. Through the viewport, she could see Earth's last remaining defense fleet in orbit, a pitiful force compared to the armada the Nexari were bringing. Captain, her executive officer, Commander Rodriguez, called out, "Long-range sensors have detected the Nexari fleet. They're accelerating. New estimated arrival. 6 days." Chen nodded, feeling the weight of humanity's future settling on her shoulders. Status of the Pandora's systems. Engineering reports all systems are functioning at peak inefficiency, exactly as designed. Weapon systems are perfectly misaligned. Shield harmonics are properly discordant, and the quantum field generators are maintaining stable instability. And the crew? They've completed their chaos adaptation training. Though I have to say, teaching people to think illogically was challenging. Chen smiled. Sometimes the best way to win isn't to play the game better. It's to change the rules entirely. She activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands. This is the captain. Prepare for final systems check. In 6 days, we either make history or become a footnote in someone else's. Either way, we're about to show the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our numbers. It's our ability to think outside every box ever built." The Pandora's engines hummed to life, each one operating at a different frequency that should have torn the ship apart. Instead, they created a harmonic resonance that made the vessel nearly impossible to track on conventional sensors. As they prepared for humanity's last stand, Chen couldn't help but wonder what the Nexari would think when they saw the Pandora for the first time. Would they recognize it as a weapon? Or would they, like so many others, dismiss it as the product of a primitive species that didn't know any better? They were about to find out. And if Chen was right, the galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the dumbest idea was the smartest move of all. The Nexari scout ship emerged from hyperspace like a knife cutting through black silk, its crystalline hull gleaming with perfect geometric precision. Captain Chen watched it approach on the Pandora's main viewport, noting how every angle and curve on the alien vessel achieved mathematical perfection. "They're scanning us," Commander Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across a control panel that deliberately sparked every few seconds. "Their targeting systems are having difficulties." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The scout ship's sensors swept across the Pandora repeatedly, like an eye refusing to believe what it was seeing. They had positioned themselves near the debris field of a recent battle, making their ship look like just another piece of space junk. "Message incoming," the communications officer announced. "Audio only. Put it through." A voice that sounded like crystalline wind chimes spoke in perfectly modulated universal standard. "Unidentified vessel, you are operating in restricted space. Your construction appears to be critically flawed. For your own safety, power down and prepare for emergency assistance." Chen nodded to her comm officer, who opened a channel. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the HMS Pandora. We appreciate your concern, but we're operating exactly as designed." There was a long pause. "Your statement is illogical. No spacefaring civilization would intentionally construct a vessel with such profound engineering failures. Would you like a demonstration of our failures?" Another pause, longer this time. "Your vessel's power signature is fluctuating wildly. You are at risk of catastrophic system collapse. We will tractor beam your ship to prevent loss of life." "Now," Chen ordered. The Pandora's engines roared to life, each one cycling through different power frequencies in a pattern based on jazz improvisation. The ship moved in ways that should have been impossible, its trajectory following a course plotted by studying the flight patterns of drunken honeybees. On the scout ship's bridge, the Nexeri crew stared in horror as their targeting computers began to crash. Their perfect minds couldn't process a vessel that violated every known law of physics and engineering. The Pandora's movement patterns generated mathematical paradoxes in their prediction algorithms. "Weapons free," Chen commanded. "Show them our special trick." The Pandora's misaligned weapons fired, each shot seemingly going in the wrong direction. But like a pool player banking shots off multiple cushions, the energy bolts curved through space in impossible arcs. They struck the scout ship shields at precisely the angles where the barrier harmonics were weakest. "Their shields are failing," Tactical reported. "They're trying to retreat." "Not yet," Chen said. "Let's give them something to report back home." She activated the quantum field generators, devices reverse-engineered from discordant technology. The space around the Pandora began to twist, creating localized areas where reality itself seemed to hiccup. The scout ship's sensors overloaded completely. Its crystalline hull developed fractures as the crew's desperate attempts to comprehend what they were seeing created feedback loops in their neural interfaces. Finally, unable to maintain structural integrity under the assault of pure chaos, they initiated an emergency jump to hyperspace. As the scout ship vanished, leaving behind only fragments of crystalline hull material, the Pandora's bridge crew erupted in cheers. Their first real combat test had been a success. "Status report," Chen called out, bringing focus back to their mission. "All systems functioning at optimal dysfunction," Captain Engineering reported. "The quantum field generators are actually performing better than expected. It seems the more we use them, the more unstable they become, in a stable way." "The Scouts' final sensor readings?" Chen asked. Commander Rodriguez grinned. "According to our analysis, their computers classified us as a temporary sensory malfunction. They literally couldn't process our existence as real." Chen nodded, satisfied. But before she could respond, a priority message came through from Earth Command. Admiral Harrison's hologram appeared on the bridge, his expression a mix of disbelief and hope. "We monitored the engagement, Captain. I don't pretend to understand how you did it, but the results speak for themselves. The Council has authorized immediate construction of 2 more vessels using your design philosophy." "Thank you, Admiral. But we'll need more than 3 ships to face their main fleet." "Agreed. I'm deploying construction teams to every major salvage yard on Earth. We're calling it Project Chaos. Every piece of junk, every failed experiment, every prototype that was too unstable to use, we're putting it all to work." Chen felt a surge of pride. Humanity had spent centuries trying to match the Nexeri's technological perfection. Now they were embracing their own chaotic nature as a weapon. "There's something else," Harrison continued. "That fragment of discordant technology you found. Our scientists finally managed to decrypt more of its data. The discordants weren't just fighting the Nexeri. They were trying to teach them something. Something about the nature of existence itself." "What do you mean, sir?" "The universe isn't built on perfect mathematics, Captain. It's built on quantum uncertainty, on chaos and probability. The Nexeri's obsession with perfection isn't just their weakness. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of reality itself." Chen looked around her bridge, at the intentionally asymmetrical design, the systems that worked better the more they broke the rules. "We're not just building weapons, are we, sir? We're making a point about the nature of existence." "Exactly. And we have 5 days to prove it before their main fleet arrives." Harrison's hologram flickered. "The Pandora is to begin training crews for the new ships immediately. Teach them to think wrong, Captain. Our survival depends on it." As the Admiral's image faded, Chen turned to her crew. "You heard him. We're about to become teachers at the galaxy's strangest warfare academy. Let's show them why humanity's greatest strength is our ability to break all the rules. Commander Rodriguez laughed. The aliens wanted perfection. Let's give them perfect chaos instead. In the days that followed, the Pandora became a floating classroom for crews that would pilot humanity's growing fleet of chaos ships. Chen watched as veteran officers struggled to unlearn everything they knew about space combat, replacing precision with controlled randomness, strategy with inspired madness. Each training exercise revealed new possibilities. They discovered that playing human music through the quantum field generators created interference patterns that made their ships even harder to target. They found that crews who embraced their own illogical impulses could anticipate and counter Nexari tactics with uncanny accuracy. But as the deadline approached, Chen couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. They had proven their concept against a single scout ship. The main Nexari fleet would bring thousands of vessels, each one a masterpiece of engineering perfection. Would humanity's embrace of chaos be enough? Or had they just invented a spectacular new way to lose? Looking at the growing fleet of mismatched ships gathering in Earth orbit, Chen realized it didn't matter. They had committed to their path. Perfect chaos against perfect order. The ultimate test of which force truly ruled the universe. In the end, it would all come down to one simple question. Could you win a war by breaking all the rules of warfare itself? They were about to find out. The Nexari fleet emerged from hyperspace, like a crystal forest looming in the void. 5,000 ships arranged in mathematically perfect formations. Captain Chen stood on the Pandora's bridge, watching as humanity's hastily assembled chaos fleet moved to meet them. 37 vessels, each one more absurd than the last. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Communications reported. Text only. The message appeared on every screen. Your species is committee ultimate transgar is UAKV ANTUR video CEDDSOR into DHE perfect EQUHION of each thighest. Tenians. Prepare for EXTINCTYN. Send our response, Chen ordered. The one we prepared. The reply was simple. 42. Commander Rodriguez grinned. The answer to life, the universe, and everything. Think they'll get the reference? Doesn't matter, Chen said. The point is to confuse their cultural analysis algorithms. All ships, execute battle plan random. The Chaos Fleet broke formation, if their scattered arrangement could even be called a formation, and began moving according to patterns derived from studying leaf movements in hurricane winds. Each ship's quantum field generators created overlapping zones of warped spacetime, turning the battlefield into a maze of probabilistic nightmares. The Nexari response was immediate and precisely coordinated. 5,000 ships fired simultaneously, their energy weapons forming geometric patterns of destruction that would have annihilated any conventional fleet. But the Chaos ships weren't where they were supposed to be. They weren't anywhere they were supposed to be. The Pandora barrel rolled through space, its hull vibrating with harmonics that shouldn't have been possible. Around it, other ships performed equally impossible maneuvers, their trajectories based on everything from dance movements to the feeding patterns of cats. Their targeting systems are failing, Tactical reported with barely contained excitement. They're trying to adapt, but their combat computers can't handle the variables we're introducing. Chen nodded. Launch the Brownian torpedoes. The Chaos Fleet released its primary weapons, experimental devices that used quantum uncertainty principles to determine their own flight paths. The torpedoes looped and swooped through space like drunken fireflies, their erratic movements making them impossible to intercept. On the Nexari ships, artificial intelligences built around perfect mathematical principles began to crash as they tried to calculate intercept solutions for objects that didn't follow any logical course. Their crystalline hulls developed stress fractures as their own neural networks generated paradox loops trying to process what they were seeing. First wave of torpedoes impacting, Rodriguez announced. 40% hit rate. Better than the simulations predicted. The Nexeri fleet's perfect formation began to break apart as ships tried to evade weapons that couldn't be predicted. Their attempts at tactical retreat created patterns that the Chaos fleet's quantum sensors could track and exploit. They're trying to establish new targeting parameters, Chen observed. All ships initiate protocol jazz. The Chaos fleet began moving to patterns based on improvised jazz solos, each ship following its own rhythm while somehow maintaining impossible harmony with the others. The quantum field generators pulsed in syncopated beats, creating waves of distorted spacetime that rippled through the Nexeri formations. Man, communications cut in. We're picking up something strange. The Nexeri ships, they're experiencing crew rebellions. Chen leaned forward. Explain. Their neural interfaces are designed to process perfect information. The chaos we're generating isn't just affecting their ships, it's affecting their minds. Some of them are beginning to question the fundamental nature of their society's devotion to perfection. A massive explosion lit up space as one of the Nexeri dreadnoughts suffered a catastrophic reactor failure. Its crystalline hull shattered into 1,000,000 glittering shards, each one a perfect fragment of a suddenly imperfect whole. Their fleet is losing coherence, Rodriguez reported. The smaller ships are starting to retreat. But the flagship, the Nexeri flagship, a vessel twice the size of any other, was pushing forward through the chaos. Its hull was changing, adapting, trying to mirror the illogical patterns of the human ships. They're learning, Chen realized. All ships concentrate fire on the flagship. Don't let them adapt. The Chaos fleet converged, their combined quantum fields creating a space-time distortion large enough to be visible to the naked eye. The Nexeri flagship fired everything it had, its weapons blazing with enough power to vaporize a small moon. But you couldn't hit what you couldn't comprehend. The Chaos fleet's shots found their mark, while the Nexeri's perfect targeting solutions solved equations that had no answer. The flagship's crystalline hull began to crack, perfect geometric patterns dissolving into chaos. They're sending another message, communications announced. The words appeared on the screen. This cannot be. Reality mused AAV order. Chen typed her response personally. Reality has patterns, not perfection. That's what the discordants were trying to teach you. The Nexeri flagship's reactor went critical, its containment fields collapsing under the strain of trying to maintain perfect order in the face of fundamental chaos. The explosion was beautiful in its irregularity, a final surrender to the universe's true nature. As the light faded, the remaining Nexeri ships began jumping to hyperspace, their retreat as disorganized as their attack had been coordinated. On the Pandora's bridge, the crew watched in stunned silence as humanity's greatest enemy fled from their embrace of imperfection. Damage report, Chen called out, bringing focus back to their immediate situation. 3 Chaos ships heavily damaged, 2 with minor injuries. No casualties. Rodriguez shook his head in disbelief. We actually did it. We beat them with nonsense. Not nonsense, Chen corrected. Truth. The universe isn't a perfect equation to be solved. It's a jazz solo to be played. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, well done. Return to Earth orbit for repairs. And she smiled. Improvisation upgrades. As the Chaos fleet limped home, their impossible victory already becoming legend, Shen pulled out the discordant artifact she always carried. Its surface seemed to shimmer with new meaning now. Send a message to Admiral Harrison, she ordered. Tell him Phase 1 is complete, but the Nexeri will be back. And next time, they'll try to use our own tactics against us. Will that work? Rodriguez asked. Can they learn to use chaos? Chen studied the artifact's shifting patterns. That's the wrong question, Commander. The real question is, can they learn to understand why chaos works? Because until they do, they'll never truly comprehend what makes humanity different. As if in response, the artifact pulsed with a pattern that looked almost like laughter. Somewhere in the distant past, Chen imagined, the discordants were applauding. Their lesson was finally being taught. The war wasn't over, but humanity had changed the rules of the game forever. And in a universe built on uncertainty, that might be the greatest victory of all. 3 months after humanity's impossible victory, Captain Chen found herself staring at sensor readings that made even less sense than the Pandora's design. The Nexeri had returned, but their ships were different. "Are you seeing this?" Commander Rodriguez asked, his voice tight with concern. The tactical display showed the approaching Nexeri fleet, but gone were the perfect crystalline formations. Their ships now moved in irregular patterns, their once pristine hulls deliberately distorted into asymmetrical shapes. "They're trying to copy us," Chen observed. "But something's wrong. Look at their movement patterns." The Nexeri ships were attempting to move chaotically, but their movements followed subtle mathematical sequences. Chaos by calculation rather than true randomness. It was like watching someone try to fake spontaneity. Every random action, carefully planned. Message from Earth Command. Communications announced. Admiral Harrison is online. The Admiral's hologram appeared, his expression grim. "Captain, our analysts have finished their assessment. The Nexeri aren't just copying our ships, they're trying to reverse engineer the fundamental principles of chaos theory itself. They've turned it into a new form of mathematics." Chen felt a chill. "They're trying to perfect imperfection." "Exactly. And their first test fleet will reach the outer defense perimeter in 6 hours. The Council is concerned that our advantage may be neutralized." "No," Chen said firmly, reaching for the discordant artifact she carried. "They still don't understand. You can't calculate true chaos any more than you can cage lightning." "Permission to engage the test fleet." "Granted. But be careful, Captain. We only have 15 chaos ships available for this engagement." As the hologram faded, Chen turned to her crew. "All hands to battle stations, and someone get me the jazz quartet from engineering." Hours later, the Pandora led its small fleet into position, facing 40 Nexeri vessels that looked like twisted parodies of their former perfect selves. Their hulls were bent and warped, but the distortions followed precise mathematical ratios, beauty marks carefully placed to simulate flaws. "They're broadcasting," communications reported. The message scrolled across the screens. "We AAVMASTRED your CAKOs. Resistance is no MATAMATKALO impossible." Chen smiled. "Send them a video file. The one of my cat knocking things off my desk." The bridge crew stifled laughs as they transmitted the footage of Chen's orange tabby, methodically pushing objects onto the floor, each item falling in a pattern that couldn't be predicted but somehow felt inevitable. The Nexeri response was delayed, their computers presumably struggling to analyze the significance of the video. When it came, it was shorter. "Explain." "That's my cat," Chen replied. "He creates chaos because it amuses him. No greater purpose, no mathematical formula. He just does what cats do." Without waiting for a response, she ordered the attack. The Chaos Fleet surged forward, but instead of following their previous successful tactics, they did something new. Each ship's crew had been given complete freedom to choose their own movement patterns, guided only by their individual interpretations of various pieces of art, music, and poetry. The Nexeri fleet attempted to counter with their calculated chaos, their ships moving in carefully crafted random patterns. But true chaos cannot be predicted, and the human vessels danced through their formation like leaves in a storm, each following its own unique rhythm. "Their targeting systems are adapting," Rodriguez warned. "They've created algorithms to predict irregular movement patterns." "Time for the cat's lesson," Chen announced. "All ships, execute protocol feline." The Chaos Fleet suddenly shifted tactics, their movements now based on the hunting patterns of house cats. The Pandora stalked through space like a predator, occasionally making sudden, purposeless changes in direction simply because it could. Other ships batted debris at the enemy vessels, creating unpredictable fields of shrapnel. On the Nexeri ships, targeting computers trained to expect mathematical chaos encountered something worse: organic chaos. Their new algorithms crashed as they tried to predict behavior that had no underlying pattern, no greater purpose than the joy of movement itself. Their shields are failing, Tactical reported. Their adaptive systems can't handle truly random inputs. Chen nodded. Launch the quantum torpedoes. Program them with the butterfly effect parameters. The torpedoes emerged from the Chaos Fleet's launchers, their quantum guidance systems influenced by the theoretical possibility that a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil could cause a tornado in Texas. Each torpedo's path was affected by quantum possibilities from parallel universes, making them literally impossible to predict. The Nexeri fleet's calculated defenses shattered. Ships designed to mirror chaos found themselves unable to cope with the real thing. Their crews, trained to understand disorder through mathematical models, faced the terrifying reality that some things simply could not be calculated. They're retreating, Rodriguez announced. But something's different this time. Chen saw it too. The Nexeri weren't fleeing in panic like before. Their withdrawal was purposeful, almost contemplative, as if they were finally beginning to understand something profound. A final message came through. The CAT. We require more data about the CAT. Hours later, in an emergency council session, Chen presented her analysis. They're evolving, she explained, but not in the way we expected. They're not just trying to copy our tactics anymore. They're trying to understand the philosophy behind them. Admiral Harrison nodded. Our intelligence suggests they've begun studying Earth's art, music, and literature. They're particularly fascinated by our pets. Because pets represent chaos we choose to live with, Chen said. Even love. That's what the discordants were trying to teach them. It's not about mastering chaos. It's about accepting it as part of existence. And how does this help us win the war? Chen held up the discordant artifact, which seemed to pulse in harmony with her words. Maybe winning isn't about destruction. Maybe it's about teaching them a new way to see the universe. A noble thought, Captain, Harrison replied. But their main fleet is still coming. 3,000 ships, all of them attempting to bridge the gap between order and chaos. We'll need more than philosophy to survive. Chen smiled, thinking of her cat back home, probably creating new forms of chaos even now. What we need, Admiral, is to show them that true chaos can't be learned from observation. It has to be experienced, and I have an idea how to do that. She outlined her plan, watching the council members' expressions shift from skepticism to amazement. It was crazy, impossible, and violated every rule of warfare ever written. In other words, it was perfect. The largest fleet battle in human history began with a cat video. While 3,000 Nexeri warships approached Earth, their hulls now a bizarre hybrid of crystalline perfection and calculated chaos. Every screen in their fleet suddenly began playing an endless stream of Earth's felines doing what they do best, creating utterly random chaos. Captain Chen stood on the Pandora's Bridge, watching as the Nexeri fleet's formation wavered. Their attempts to maintain their new pseudo-chaotic patterns faltered as their crews became increasingly distracted by the seemingly endless parade of cats knocking over cups, jumping at cucumbers, and chasing laser points. They're trying to analyze the footage, communications reported, barely containing their amusement. Their computers are attempting to find mathematical patterns in cat behavior. Good luck with that, Chen muttered. Humanity's been trying to understand cats for 10,000 years. She turned to Rodriguez. Status of Operation Wonderland. All ships report ready. The quantum field generators are synchronized with the White Rabbit protocol. Just waiting for your signal. Chen took a deep breath. Their entire defense of Earth relied on what might be the most ridiculous battle plan ever conceived. The combined Chaos Fleet, now numbering over 100 vessels, had been arranged in a pattern based on the neural pathways of a dreaming child. "Send the signal," she ordered. "Down the rabbit hole we go." The Chaos Fleet activated their quantum field generators simultaneously, but each one was modulated to a different frequency based on various pieces of abstract art. The overlapping fields created a cascade effect, turning the space around Earth into a bubble of pure quantum uncertainty. The Nexeri Fleet's sensors went haywire as reality itself seemed to dissolve into a soup of probabilities. Their ships, caught between their original perfect nature and their attempts to embrace chaos, began to experience what could only be described as an existential crisis. "They're sending a message," communications announced. Audio this time. A voice that somehow managed to sound both crystalline and confused filled the bridge. What is reality?" Chen smiled. "That's the question, isn't it? Reality isn't what you think it is. It's not a perfect equation, or even a controlled chaos. It's—" She looked down at the discordant artifact, which was now pulsing with colors that shouldn't exist. "It's more like jazz played by cats chasing butterflies in a quantum tornado." The Nexeri Fleet's formation continued to deteriorate as their crews struggled with concepts that challenged their fundamental understanding of existence. Ships began moving in truly random patterns, not because they were programmed to, but because their crews were beginning to genuinely question everything they had ever believed about order and chaos. "Ma'am," Tactical called out, "their flagship is changing." On the main view screen, the massive Nexeri vessel was transforming. Its crystalline structure was flowing like liquid, reshaping itself not according to mathematical principles, but in response to the emotions of its crew. It was beautiful in a way that defied description, neither ordered nor chaotic, but something entirely new. "They're broadcasting ship-to-ship communications in the clear," Rodriguez reported. "They're arguing philosophy." Chen listened as the Nexeri crews debated the nature of reality, their perfect mathematical language breaking down into something more organic, more alive. Some ships began executing maneuvers that served no tactical purpose, moving simply for the joy of movement. "Send them the final message," Chen ordered. "The one from the discordance." The artifact in her hand pulsed once, and every screen in both fleets filled with shifting patterns that somehow conveyed meaning without words. The universe is not a problem to be solved, but a dance to be joined. The effect was immediate and profound. Throughout the Nexeri fleet, ships began to power down their weapons. Some crews started creating art with their ship's movement patterns. Others requested copies of Earth's complete library of cat videos for further study. The flagship's commander opened a direct channel to the Pandora. The being that appeared on screen was barely recognizable as Nexeri. Its crystalline form had become fluid, organic, alive with possibility. "We understand now," it said, its voice a melody of ordered chaos. The discordants didn't vanish, they evolved. They learned to exist in all states simultaneously, to embrace both pattern and possibility. "And now you have the same choice," Chen replied. "You can cling to your perfect mathematics, or you can join the dance." The commander's form shifted, briefly taking on the appearance of a cat chasing its own tail. "We choose the dance, but we require teachers." Chen laughed. "I think we can arrange that. Though I should warn you, trying to understand cats is a lifetime commitment." The war ended not with a grand battle, but with an exchange of art, music, and yes, cat videos. The Nexeri civilization underwent a transformation that their ancestors would have considered a catastrophe, but that they now recognized as evolution. 1 year later, Chen stood in the newly established Chaos Academy, where human instructors taught Nexeri students the art of improvisation. The classroom walls were covered in abstract paintings created by alien artists who had discovered that imperfection could be more beautiful than perfection. The discordant artifact had been installed in the Academy's central courtyard, where it continued to pulse with impossible colors. But now it was surrounded by lounging cats, each one teaching profound lessons about chaos theory simply by being themselves. "Captain," a young Nexari student approached, its crystalline form flowing like quicksilver. "I have achieved something remarkable. Yesterday, I knocked a cup off a table for no reason at all." Chen smiled. "And how did it feel?" "Illogical. Purposeless. Perfect." As she watched the student drift away, moving in patterns that would have scandalized its ancestors, Chen reflected on how the greatest victories sometimes came not from fighting battles, but from teaching others to see the universe in a new way. The Pandora still patrolled the stars, its impossible design now studied by ships from 100 worlds. But it was no longer a weapon of war. Instead, it had become a symbol of something far more powerful, the moment when perfection learned to dance with chaos, and the universe became a little more wonderful as a result. "Ready for patrol?" Rodriguez asked, approaching with 2 cups of coffee balanced precariously on a datapad. "Almost," Chen replied, reaching down to scratch behind the ears of the orange tabby that had somehow become the Academy's mascot. "Just finishing today's lesson in advanced chaos theory." The cat purred, knocked over both coffee cups, and sauntered away, leaving perfect disorder in its wake. "Just as it should be."